All right. So the 12-team playoff, which is one of the dumbest decisions that we have done as a whole in college football, has a new format instead of the 6+6, which would have had two G5 schools at large. Now it only has one. That's basically what we did. We went from 6-6 to a 5-7. So I know I wrote a blog on this. Donald Dog, check it out. I have a lot of problems with it. By the way, just before I get your thoughts on this, they are at that meeting where they voted on the new format. They also were talking about a 14-team playoff.
Yeah, CFP is talking about it right now in Dallas.
Yeah. So we are going to get to a point where we have 16, 18, 20. It'll just keep going because we're going to render the whole regular season useless, which is so stupid. But anyway, you have my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, is it absolutely confirmed this is the way it's going to be for next season?
Well, that's the thing, because I don't all this is kind of in limbo. I was kind of shocked that they had come out with a decision because I thought that we would probably not know about the playoffs till about June or July, because there's still a lot of moving parts. But I would assume that this is going to be the case unless something changes, like another conference falls, i.e., the ACC.
Well, I mean, yeah, I if I'm University of Georgia, I do not want to play in the SEC championship because SEC is going to produce out of the 12 teams 4, maybe more that's going to make it in the final. Like if you look back at the standings last year, Missouri would have made it, right? Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss probably would have made it.
Ole Miss would have made it.
Who am I missing?
That's it, I think.
Who?
That's it.
All right, so 4 out of the 12 teams are going to be, you would think it's going to become.
Oh, wait, and don't forget Texas.
Oh yeah, Texas. That's right. Now,
yeah.
So now
5 out of 12.
5 out of the 12. So you're much better off if you're Georgia not wanting to play in the SEC championship, and that's sad because SEC championship should mean something. It always has been something. What is the incentive for playing a conference championship? You're much better off laying in the weeds, getting healthy, going through. You get the benefit of going through practices, but yet you're not having to show any more on film. You're not having to play in the game. So to me, you're watering down the regular season, and it's all for TV ratings. One of the things that you pointed out in your article, ESPN has a monopoly on this. So they're the ones driving, and I think that's really scary. It's not just sports, but that's anything in business. When you have one company, one organization monopolizing and has that much leverage, and don't make any mistakes, this is all about money. And I think you're right. We're already talking about going to 14. It's going to be like it's going to end up being like March Madness. And sorry, football and basketball are a lot different, right? You can't. Yeah. It's very difficult to do that. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure out of all this, it's going to help us get to who really is the best 2 teams. Clearly, I don't think they had it right this year. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course. You had a team that dominated for 2 years and lost a game by 1 point in a extra game that they shouldn't have. Really, there's no incentive because none of the other conference championships were like the same. You had Michigan playing fucking Iowa, and you had Texas playing the 106th ranked defense of Oklahoma State, who lost to South Alabama. It's crazy. It's nuts. And here's the other thing, and now you're getting me going, because honestly, out of all the things that are going on in college football, this is the one that really pisses me off and bothers me the most. There's going to be an SEC team that is going to be left out for a G5 team, for a G5 school. That's crazy to me. An 11-2 LSU team is better than any undefeated G5 school. Sorry, I don't want to live in like this la la land. Yeah, it's a cool storyline, But if they played, it's not that interesting. It would be a drumming. So I don't know what we're doing. We already tried to
Cinderella stories. That's just like they have in the Sweet 16. They're wanting those Cinderella stories so they can talk it up, get more eyeballs. People that don't pay attention except during the playoffs. That's what they're trying to do. But I totally agree with you.
So hey, look, I want to take this even further. If you're a Georgia fan, you know this. 2021, Georgia, clearly the best team in the country all year, had a slip up against Alabama. Obviously, it was proven a month later that Georgia was the better team, right? We all saw it happen. No matter how many wide receivers they had fucking hurt, doesn't matter. So Georgia wouldn't have been the top 4 seed. You know where they would have been? They would have been like 6, and they would have played a game at Pitt, who won the ACC championship at Pitt. How crazy is that? That's nuts. No, that doesn't make any logical sense at all. Georgia was clearly one of the best teams all year in 2021. Pitt, by the way, got beat by Michigan State in the Chick-fil-A Bowl that year. They weren't that great. I mean, they barely beat Tennessee, who Georgia drubbed at Tennessee that year. So, and I hate the transferative property. I don't think it doesn't exist, but people use it as an argument for playoffs. We saw it with Texas getting in. They didn't deserve it. So I just don't understand what we are doing as a whole, because the people who control college football don't care about college football.
Well, they don't know how to. They obviously don't know. They don't know football.
No.
You can't. We were the number 1 team this past year, lost by 3 points, and in a championship game, and dropped to 6th. Really,
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So, and then you're forcing a better team to play extra games. You're giving more opportunities, more variables. Quarterback getting hurt, one or two of their main players getting hurt, and then. It's for what? If you watch the games, look at the conferences. I'm sorry. I know the Big Ten has improved because I guess they brought in USC,
UCLA, Oregon, Washington. Yeah.
They've improved, but still, those are I'm really hoping that the SEC and the Big Ten will come up with some kind of governing body or something to say, what the hell with all the craziness here? Because those 2 conferences, Big Ten and SEC, those are going to be the best 12 teams in the country, right?
Yeah.
10 out of the 12. Let's be real, maybe more than that. Those are going to generate the 12 best teams. Now, based on what criteria the CFP is going to, how they're going to do that, I have no idea. But
I mean, the Big 12 is not equal to whoever the Big 12 champion is. It is not equal to even the number 2 or number 3 SEC school or the Big 10 school. Either.
Heaven forbid, Colorado, aren't they in the Big 12?
Yeah, now they are. Yeah.
So now watch Colorado.
Oh,
they can't wait to put him in there.
Oh yeah.
Wait, and it's not based on football. It's based on bullshit. It's based on propaganda. It's based on glitz, eyeball.
Yeah. Well, on that topic, and you brought it up, and I wrote it in my blog. ESPN has like a $2 billion deal with the CFP to broadcast all the playoffs. So whenever people are like, "Oh, the bowl games are meaningless," I remember when bowl games mattered. Well, guess who you have to thank for that? It's the people that carry the bowl games. So look who's eat up every bowl game for television rights. Because I remember growing up, the national championship was on Fox.
Yeah.
CBS had multiple bowl games. NBC had bowl games. So
all the major networks had bowl games.
Yeah, they all had a major bowl game. NBC broadcasted national championships. CBS, I don't think they ever broadcast a national championship, but they broadcasted some of the bigger bowl games. All they're left now is the friggin' Sun Bowl. So and then also just watch Saturday. If you're watching college basketball, watch. ESPN doesn't have the rights to March Madness. CBS does. How much will they talk about the bracket? they'll bring it up because they have Joe Lunardi and his bracketology. And then they'll talk about the SEC, or if you're watching the ACC, they'll bring up the tournament and where all the teams are going to be seated if they win or lose this game. They'll mention it once, maybe twice. They're not going to bring it up the whole broadcast. Go and look at Georgia Ole Miss this year, Georgia and Georgia Tech, where really the only team that was affected by the playoffs was Georgia, not Tech. They will bring it up 3, 4, 5 times. There'll be commercials about it because ESPN has a vested interest. So they push this narrative of, well, it's the playoffs or nothing. And by the way, that's whenever you get, and when Kirby goes, what do you want out of this? Because the Orange Bowl used to mean something. That's whenever you get a 63-3 Orange Bowl. Yeah. That's what happens. So they're diminishing their own product that they're pushing. I don't know. I don't know. It drives me crazy.
The announcers and people would recognize it because that it's almost like when they're broadcasting a game that's like that Florida State Georgia game, they can feel the people just tuning out because at halftime, it was 38-3 at halftime or something like that. They knew nobody was back to nothing. So you would think the announcers and the people who are getting paid based on ratings and selling commercials, you think they would kind of know that they're watering down and diminishing what used to be a pretty cool. I mean, honestly, I know I'm nostalgic. I'm an older guy, but watching bowl games on New Year's Day, that was always really fun. You could be switching back and forth on different channels, watching, and they're all pretty good games. It's not like that anymore.
No, I mean, even in the BCS era, and it had major flaws. I mean, that's why we're at the point where we're at today. It had major flaws, but the bowl games meant something. You didn't see opt-outs like this. It wasn't until the playoffs where you started seeing these huge opt-outs. And like the 2007 Sugar Bowl, even though Georgia was playing Hawaii and Georgia was clearly going to beat them, it still meant something for Georgia, and it meant something for Hawaii, and it meant for everyone watching at home. This whole thing is just so crazy to me. We should have never – I mean, honestly, it should be a 18 playoff, and then you have to have some sort of reward for players to play in bowl games.
That's what I was about to say. I would say that ESPN, in order to mitigate opt-outs, they should have to come off their wallet and pay these players to play in these bowl games.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Otherwise, you're going to have exactly – why am I going to go play in a meaningless bowl? You know what I mean? Why?
Well, totally. Well, whenever you're paying $2 billion to carry the playoff package, that means you're thinking that you're at least going to make back the money that you paid for. So they're going to at least get $2 billion, $4 billion at the worst. The players are going to start asking for to be cut into that pie.
The next step, and I don't really blame them. We keep going down this road. I know this is not exactly what we're talking about, but the players are going to start unionize.
Yeah.
And so look, man, how can you have a kid that's going to USC end up playing in Happy Valley against Penn State, come back on Monday and take a political science final exam or midterm or have a paper? That's ridiculous. I mean, or let's all stop kidding ourselves about calling them student athletes. These people they're paid mercenaries now.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense. Look, and all this, by the way, is because of that Warren dude from the Big Ten. He overreacted from the SEC getting Texas and Oklahoma. And so he scrambled and got USC and UCLA to break the Pac-12, which was already weak and looking it was in a bad spot. It could have been fixed, could have been saved, but they had shitty leadership. So really, it's the Big Ten's fault for doing, because it makes sense that Texas flies to Athens and then on Saturday night comes back to Austin. That's not like a terrible flight, but going from LA to where the hell's Rutgers? Somewhere in New Jersey. I don't know.
Clifton, New Jersey. It's right outside of
whatever the city it is. That's a hell of a flight. Yeah, what are we doing? It's crazy to me. And then what about all the other sports? What about baseball? What about
basketball?
Basketball's crazy. Basketball is going to be crazy because you're going to have Rutgers and USC or Rutgers and Oregon play each other on a Tuesday night, and they're going to have to fly back and go to practice on Wednesday after making a cross-country flight. What are we doing? It's crazy. It's nuts.
I don't know how we can sit here and say, and I'll tell you another thing. And I've thought about this, but school and education is not for everybody, right? We get that. And these guys are coming, and I say guys, I'm talking about football in this case. They're probably coming to school for one thing, and that's to play football.
Well, of course.
But there's probably a lot of these kids that have never had a college graduate ever in their life from their family. And so this is like a generational thing. Sometimes you would, before NIL and the transfer portal, you would have kids that would back ass into getting a degree. And it would change their lives. Now with the transfer portal, these kids, because you're losing credit,
they don't finish. Yeah, they don't finish.
They're not finish. So when football's done, we're going to have, they don't have a degree to fall back on. So to me, there's a lot of things that we can all these school presidents sit there high and mighty and talk about their academics. They're in this shit for the money. It's a for-profit thing. I was all in favor of kids getting paid. I thought it sucked that some of these kids came from such poor families that their mom and dad and couldn't come see them play in the games. They should have gotten paid something, but we are way out of whack on this.
Yeah. And I know Josh Pate talked about a lot of this stuff is going to be figured out in court.
That's what we need.
Yeah, we can't look to Congress and the legal system of America to fucking fix our problems. I mean, if that was the case, we would be fantastic.
I feel really good. I think it all ought to be turned over to Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah, exactly. And so, the whole thing is a mess. I think we are in a very precarious situation. We'll see what happens. I thought I had a squirrel in the roof of this, but no, it was a child scratching on a door. So sorry for the pause, but we're in a very precarious situation. I don't know. Hopefully, I really am to not be a NFL light.
That's what we're going. That's where this is going to end up.
It could very easily become that. I'm hoping that we don't. College football, the reason why it was special is because of its regular season. Even if you were, 7-5, a game against Florida meant something. So, or whoever your rival is. So, we need to keep that. I don't know if the people in charge will. So, we'll see. There's my preaching on Mount Olive. So, for your shipping needs, go to the Unishippers. Who do you ask for?
You can ask for Holland Martin.
Ask for Holland. And for your Georgia football needs, go to Dom the Dog. We have a new writer for basketball. Congratulations to me. I don't have to worry about writing about basketball anymore. Though I never really did. I only put one blog up. Who cares? So check it out. Put a blog up about G-Day. I don't know. I'm going to probably write another one tomorrow because I have nothing else to do. So check it out, and we'll subscribe, go to Terminus Sports on social media on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll see you then.
Adios.
Adios.